Prologue. Once upon a time, when the earth was still shrouded in miracles, there was a large kingdom that ruled the entire land in the east. Led by the mighty and wise King Alaman, the glory of the kingdom became famous to foreign countries. The king's life was very happy, especially with the presence of 7 boys who would later become the successors to the royal throne. Problems then arose when King Alaman was old. The eyes of a father could not ignore the competition, and the seeds of division began to be seen clearly among the princes who were growing up. Encouraged by fear of a civil war after his death, the king decided to summon the strongest magicians and then ordered them to make a tool that could wisely choose a successor to the throne among the 7 princes. That is how the custom of the great kingdom will continue to be the final determinant to prevent power struggles, until a sudden period of cataclysmic natural disasters came, destroying the entire territory of the great empire in the east and immediately burying high civilization without leaving a trace. For thousands of years, its existence has only been a myth or bedtime story for children told by parents for generations. Until finally an archaeologist managed to collect pieces of clues that led him to explore the depths of a tropical forest in the Dutch East Indies. "Sir, we have managed to find a spot that is thought to be an entrance to the interior of the building site," a young man dressed in a native population reported to his master, panting. "Come quickly, take me there," the archaeologist said while giving a sign on the map, then immediately came out of the tent and followed the steps of his assistant from behind. "Here, sir, that's the entry point." The assistant showed what he had reported. What his assistant said was true. The archaeologist witnessed that between the 2 rectangular walls there was a gap that did not tightly resemble a large door made of stone. The archaeologist immediately ordered his assistant to command native workers to clear the ground and shrubs that covered part of the spot. After a few hours later, 2 walls were found that were indeed an entrance with a length of about 6 meters and a width of 3 meters. Its surface is clearly filled with fine carvings of certain symbols and illustrations which the archaeologist must first translate before deciding to open them. "This is the place. Push the 2 walls." The archaeologist had to give orders through his assistant because the native workers, who were almost shirtless, did not understand English. Without a strong push, the 2 leaves of the wall can be opened easily because apparently there is a tool that functions as a hinge mounted on the side like a door in general. "Follow me." The archaeologist invited his assistant to explore the building site. 2 lanterns were lit to illuminate their journey to uncover the veil, tracing every mystery that was waiting at each intersection. Shortly thereafter, they have managed to get out again from within the site section. The archaeologist's left hand was seen carrying an object that was deliberately wrapped by his clothes. A few weeks later the archaeologist called his assistant into the tent to do an important task. "You must go to the resident's capital as soon as possible, then send this package to England." The archaeologist gave a package to his assistant. "Yes, sir." The assistant took his master's command without saying much and immediately left the tent. Inside the room of a school, there is a student who is in a corner at the end of a white ceramic wall. His face was frightened because some students surrounded him with angry faces. "You must be punished for making me a laughingstock in the classroom." Bruno spoke in agreement as he grabbed Andy's neck and pushed him against the bathroom wall. But what is my fault? I was just answering a question from Mr. Richard." Andy chimed in Bruno's words and tried to defend himself. "Ah, shut up. I couldn't accept your actions earlier." Bruno didn't want to hear Andy's explanation or defense. He became even more emotional and then strengthened his grip. "Just hit him, Bruno, teach him a lesson to be learned." Will, who is one of Bruno's friends, provokes to immediately hit Andy. "I agree. Let's give this loser a little memory so that he doesn't dare to make you laugh at the class, Bruno." Sammy shouted a little in support of Will's invitation. Andy was very scared to listen to the provocations carried out by Bruno's friends, especially when his eyes saw Bruno's right fist was ready to be hit on his face. "Wait a minute, if I hit this loser then we will be in trouble again. What if we give a special lesson for him?" Bruno discouraged physical violence, then told his friends to drag Andy into a closet. Andy could not move against the strength of two people who grabbed and pulled his hand forcibly. He can only hold a deep breath when his head is forced into the closet repeatedly and soaked by dirty water. Hiya, enough. I think this loser understands our message, let him become smarter with this extra lesson. Bruno laughed contentedly and stopped his friend's bully to Andy. Look into my eyes, Andy. Remember, you should keep your mouth shut or I'll give you additional lessons. If anyone knows our secret then you will be doomed. Do you understand what I mean? Bruno threatened to do something undesirable if Andy dared to report the incident to anyone. Yes. I understand. Andy answered Bruno's threat in a low voice while bowing his head to the corner of the closet. Good. Come on, our friends, leave him alone here. Bruno invites Will and Sammy to go from the toilet because Andy is already helpless. Bruno and his friends are very famous for their mischief. A lot of students at Bristol Senior High School have experienced bullying from them, being squeezed or seized of their valuables, but no one dared to open their mouths for fear of experiencing bullying like Andy. The waker clock had rang several times on the study table, but today Andy was also unable to get out of bed. His back still felt pain because yesterday he was pushed very hard towards the wall by Bruno. Andy! Andy, wake up, it's already afternoon. Quickly come down for breakfast. The school bus will arrive soon. RS. Michelle's voice came from outside the door of the room trying to wake her child. No ma'am, I'm not going to school today. My body doesn't feel too well. Andy answered his mother's question in a weak voice. The bedroom door then opened, and Mrs. Michelle immediately approached her son who was still lying on the bed. What happened to you, Andy? Are you sick? RS. Michelle asked her son while putting his palm on Andy's forehead. I don't know, ma'am, my joints hurt and my whole body went limp. Andy tried to hide the truth. Your body has a slight fever, Andy. We better go to the doctor immediately to check your condition. Michelle looked worried because her son's body was rather pale and had a slight fever. No need, ma'am. I just want to rest today, don't worry about my situation. Andy tried to calm his mother. Well then, maybe you don't get enough rest, but after Mom comes home from work we should go to the doctor. Don't forget, breakfast has been prepared at the dinner table. Your mother will get angry if you don't eat it. Ishel got out of her son's bed because he had to go to work. All right ma'am, thank you. Andy said to his mother, then turned around, closed his eyes under the thick blanket. Are you sure, you are all right, Andy? Michelle again asked her son. Please Mom, leave me alone, I am all right, just need to sleep. Andy assured his mother as he held up a thumbs up sign. Feeling confident about his son's condition, Michelle closed the bedroom door and immediately went down to the first floor to get ready for work. Andy actually just pretended to be sick, he was afraid of being bullied again like yesterday. His memory will never forget the actions of Bruno and his friends. Andy still thinks, why should he receive inhuman treatment just because he has answered correctly Mr. Richards' question which Bruno cannot answer. One day they will take my revenge. Andy clenched his hands in pain. Not long after, the car's engine started from the garage, the horn sounded several times giving a sign. Andy immediately rose from the bed toward the window and gave his mother a wave to go to work. Andy has spent several hours in the bedroom. Since morning he played online games but his heart was restless, so he finally logged out and turned off his computer. The teenager sat on a study chair, his eyes penetrating the window pane, and saw an oak tree that stood upright in his yard. Andy smiled, when a few brownish-yellow leaves fell onto the green grass. Let's plant the tree, Andy. Dig the ground here but don't go too deep. Andy suddenly remembered how his father taught him to plant oaks a dozen years ago. It's the third summer without you, father. Andy whispered softly. For a few moments Andy was lulled by the memories of his late father. He just woke up again when his stomach felt hungry, so Andy immediately got up from the chair, came out of the room and went down to the first floor to the dining table and ate breakfast. Summer is a fun time for everyone in the city of Bristol. The atmosphere feels more crowded, at least that's what Andy saw on a cycling trip. The playground is full of children, the carnival is crowded with visitors, open spaces arranged in such a way that it becomes the most desirable family recreation area. But Andy was not very interested in the crowd. After passing through dozens of blocks, his bicycle stopped at a used goods market, a favorite place that was always the first choice to visit. Traders' stalls are neatly lined up, facing each other so that there is still room for visitors to walk on colorful paving blocks. Motorized vehicles may not enter the market area, including bicycles must be parked in a special place. Traders are organized based on the type of goods sold. The stalls are grouped with paint colors, making it easier for visitors to transact. For some people, this place is not attractive at all, but Andy does not think so. He feels that each item has its own story and value, even though some are sold because they are not needed or even thrown away by the previous owner. What is the price of this item? A visitor is heard asking a merchant the price of an item. You can have it with £50, only £50. The trader answered by mentioning a price. What? The price is very expensive for a dirty flower vase. The buyer does not believe the price he listens to. The flower vase is antique. Original, handmade from Indonesia. I can guarantee that the goods will become one of the rare collections. Seller tries to explain the uniqueness of the goods, which according to him is a rare collection from a country. You do not have to joke with me. The buyer does not just believe the words he heard. Look at this old photo, sir. You will be sure that the flower vase was made in the past. That thing is a family treasure. Merchant again seduced the prospective buyer by showing a photograph. Let me see the picture. Very old. How about £25? The buyer finally offered again a flower vase before him. Andy did not listen to the end of the transaction process. His feet immediately moved from the glassware stall and continued to look at other used goods across the street. Book stalls look not crowded. Maybe this place is not very interesting for visitors because most of the items sold there can be found in the library. Only a few visitors were seen standing in front of the stall, looking around and storing books again, as if they were in the museum without making a transaction. Likewise with Andy. He just walked indefinitely until the end of the thrift market, but his gaze suddenly turned to a dull book sold there. His feet stepped into a stall and then stood motionless. Yes? Can I help you? The bookseller tries to help prospective buyers. Andy did not answer. His hands immediately took a book, read the title and looked at the sheet of paper inside. Booksellers are already aware of the behavior of some visitors at their kiosks. They will only see the title, open a few pages and then leave without a word. Very interesting. What book is this? It only has a title and its contents still leave a lot of blank sheets of paper. Andy apparently was very interested in the book in his hand, which was made of ordinary paper but seemed to have changed color to a brownish brown. All handwritten and even illustrated by hand strokes and some unknown shapes. Excuse me. Are you selling this book? Andy asked the bookseller in return. All the books that are here are indeed for sale, son. The seller answered Andy's question with a hint of teasing to the visitor, because he did not answer when asked by him. Can you explain this book? Andy tried to get more information about the object he was holding. What book? The seller began to open his transaction style. This book, can you explain it? Andy showed the book in his hand. That book, my old collection, is very unique. It looks like a journal or an adventurer's notes. How much is it? Andy immediately offered the price. Listen to me, boy. This book is not an ordinary book, but a treasure, a first and invaluable writing because there is a secret in it. Booksellers continue to provide interesting information to prospective buyers. From the words of the bookseller, Andy already knew what he meant. The price must be very expensive. Ah, okay, I understand. Andy put the book back in its place. The seller smiled at the behavior of prospective buyers. Almost all who are interested in the book will behave similar to Andy, especially if he has listened to how much it costs. Are you really interested in buying this book, boy? The seller asked Andy. I don't know, sir. I just read and hope to bring it home. Andy was not sure he could bring the book home. "What if I sell this book at an exclusive price, especially for you?" The seller offered Andy a book. "Can you explain the meaning to me?" Andy increasingly does not understand the words of the bookseller. "Listen, son. Many prospective buyers want to have this book, but they cancel it when they hear how much it costs." Seller explains about his merchandise. "Can you tell me, how much is it?" Andy ventured to ask about the price of the book. "I'll tell you. The price of this book is equivalent to all the items in your pants pocket." The seller finally mentioned the price of the book he was selling. "Wow! You're not playing right? I only have £10 in my pocket," he answered in surprise, but actually he tried his luck. "And a bicycle, of course." The bookseller added Andy's words. "What? How do you know about my bicycle?" Andy was amazed when the bookseller mentioned about the bicycle. "Now it's all up to you. This book could be yours for £10 and a bicycle." The seller gives the final offer. Andy did not immediately approve the offer. His eyes continued to stare at the book, thinking whether he dared to buy it with everything he had now. To the seller. "All right, sir, I bought this book." Andy finally agreed on the price. "Then this book is yours." "Agree." The bookseller finally gave Andy his merchandise. A book finally moves ownership through a strange transaction from the seller. The prospective buyer is required to pay with everything he has at that time, the entire contents of his pocket, wallet, and even the vehicle he is driving. Obviously no one would dare to buy a book at a flea market at such a high price. Even some visitors consider it a fraud. But Andy was lucky to get it. Of course there was an additional price because he had to walk home to the house and was hit by the sun all the way.